Welcome everybody to QUIZZY Monday and a special episode of QUIZZY Monday. Tonight we are very pleased to welcome both teams that fought out a fantastic Only Connect final. Delighted to have them on board with us tonight. So in just a moment we'll welcome them onto the stream. Just want to quickly tell you about one thing that's happening coming up, and well, actually a couple of things. So just check out the channel. We've got a number of new videos going up all the time. And the latest one is a Quiz Academy one about getting questions off YouTube. So look out for that. And you saw a sneak peek of it there. The winners of the votes for Quizzer of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. Quizzer of the Week was Ian Toms for his fantastic Lowbrow Mimir victory. Paddy Duffy came second. Michael Cohen from Imperial College, he came third. And in Quiz Team of the Week, Central Belters, who know how to muster a campaign for votes, came first, and a tie for second between Broken Warriors from Quiz Nations and Park Exiles from OQL. So moving on, we have gone past 500 subscribers on YouTube, and we're really chuffed about it. So we are going to have a quiz for our subscribers. We'll put a sign-up form in our Facebook group. If you're a subscriber, you can come along, play for free, and the person who will be presenting, I'm just bringing on screen now, is the estimable Dave Bill. How are you doing, Dave?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Wow, you've got one of those shirts that they never let you wear on TV. So yeah, Friday the 9th of April at 8 p.m. for an hour, we'll be doing a kind of speed quiz thing. If you're a subscriber, you'll be able to sign up for free, and Dave will be presenting it. So thanks so much for doing that, Dave.
As long as we don't call it a speed quiz thing, that's fine. Yeah.
Sorry?
As long as we don't call it a speed quiz thing, we are going to use the Red Tooth Smart Quiz software.
Okay, so it would be a smart quiz. I haven't put a speed quiz up on the thing, so that's fine. But a rapid quiz, a smart quiz.
Yeah.
But no, that'll be good. And that's a way of saying thank you to our subscribers. We're very grateful to Dave for doing that for us.
Nice.
So without further ado, I'm delighted to welcome on the stars of tonight's Only Connect. And what a final it was. Now, Dave, for those who don't know, Dave, was a series champion from Series 3.
Back in the day, Series 3.
Back in the day. So he is here to kind of oversee the newer generation as they come on board. So we have Katie and Paul and Ali, and we also have in one room the Dungeon Masters. So we've got the Puzzle Hunters, and now we have the Dungeon Masters. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Was it as nerve-wracking watching it back as it must have been playing it?
Yeah. I couldn't eat.
This is an experience for me. This is the most I've seen Katie smile, because Katie on the whole show looked as though she was petrified, and not what didn't want to be there, but obviously you were blinkered, focused,
I was just in the zone, just focused, yeah.
It was fantastic show, fantastic game, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, tied all the way through, first round, second round.
Yeah, we've seen some missing vowels performances over the series, but yeah, tonight was another great one. We'll get onto that in due course, but firstly, Michael McPartland is saying there's a whole lot of strobing going on. Dave.
I'm not changing my shirt for Michael. He can bugger
it. Grace, who's been watching us all series, says it's been a lovely series. Wish it didn't have to end. Well, at least my OC quiz books came today, so I can enjoy them, or possibly get confused with them. We got James saying love you guys. Catherine, applause. Claire saying it was an amazing match, so close. What a shame there had to be a winner. And Simon, what a great final. I'm now quite happy to say I've met an Only Connect winner in person. So
you can to know Simon.
There's loads of comments coming through at the moment, but I guess Katie, Paul, Ali, what's it been like having to kind of keep this a secret for months?
We didn't have to keep it a secret for as long as other Only Connect winners. I think that's the case, right? Because we filmed the final in October or something. So not quite as long as other winners had to.
I think it was more difficult sort of during the series keeping it a secret that we were still in, because every time we had to go and film again, we had to get a train to Cardiff, and occasionally people would be like, "Oh, I'm assuming you're just going to be staying at home like everyone is all the time," and we were like, "Oh, no, we can't do a thing that weekend because we are redecorating." Like we just had to come up with weird excuses that we couldn't do stuff. And one time, I actually, it's because I have like a watch that I use to track when I go running, and it's connected to my dad's account because he also does a lot of running, and he noticed that I'd done a run in Cardiff. I'd not even thought that he would notice this, but he was like, "Did you go back and film some more episodes?" I was like, yeah.
I took one of the hire bikes out in Cardiff and did a ride and put it on Strava, and then afterwards I was like, "No, I've done that. Probably not."
Yeah,
I think they're telling you that. I mean, I don't think that it's not Gestapo rules, is it? I mean, you can tell your dad you're leaving the area.
I think that's permissible, and it shouldn't go without saying, Ali, congratulations! You've got a 5-week-old baby, so you must be pretty tired right now.
Yeah, it's not been too bad. She's been around for the last 2 of our episodes, so yeah, we've got an early introduction to quizzing.
And we've got plenty of love for the Dungeon Masters coming through. For anybody who's wondering, Dungeon Masters are all in the same bubble, which is awfully convenient for us. Delighted to see you here, Dungeon Masters. You know, all these months on, how does it feel kind of getting so close and not quite making it?
I mean, to be honest, I think none of us were expecting to get as far as we did at all. So like every game that we won was a surprise. So there's no kind of, oh, we got so close, because none of us ever believed that we could win it. And to get to even get to the quarterfinals was huge for us. That was our aim when we applied and throughout all the filming. And I think we just got really, really lucky. And so we just wanted to play as many games as we could, which we didn't, because we won our first 2 games, and we should have lost them and then won the second ones, but that's out of our kind of control. But we just wanted to play as much as we could, and we did, and it was so fun.
I think had the final score been closer, it would have been worse, because you'd be picking on individual questions that you got wrong, which there was a couple that we kind of went, oh, well, we could have gotten that one, or we could have gotten that one. But to lose by the margin that we did, it was kind of comfortably like, fine, that's okay.
And to a team that had like the most intimidatingly amazing first round, I think, of all time that we had seen that aired before we played them. So we were like, oh, dang, they're in the final. That I'm confident of, but
So we've got so many comments coming in. We've got quite a lot of people on here. Ali, what obscure cheese is going to be Ali's baby's first word? # Gruyere. I mean, I think this sums it up. You know, congratulations, everyone. Brilliant final, edge of the seat stuff. It was just neck and neck all the way. And just when you think that, you know, one team might be pulling ahead, somebody goes and pulls out a 5-pointer in the final of all things.
I mean, I thought there could have been 2, because I think I'm going to cause controversy by saying I think the Dungeon Masters could have probably had one.
Yes.
If you jump into the second game,
it's been discussed.
What's the nice thing?
The fatal joke, didn't you? But
the nice thing, though, I think about, I assume you're referring to the Monty Python jokes, where I tried to interrupt and Aaron had already said next. The nice thing about that question, as opposed to almost all other Only Connect questions, is I'd arguably look cleverer knowing what Infinite Jest wasn't, having read it. So arguably, I think it looks better for me having gone in for 3 points.
That's all I was thinking about
Yeah.
when I said
So,
points.
you know, no hard feelings there at all.
Yeah, I found that really useful actually, because a couple of times people have said things on Twitter about the fact that I will never say next immediately. I'll always give us like a few seconds to like see if anything kind of clicks from the first clue, just in case. And some people are like, "What are you doing? You should just get the next one as soon as possible." I'm like, nope, there. That's why. That is an occasion on which that would have been helpful. But, you know, who's to say? Yeah. I mean, we've definitely had questions where we got to, like, not enough time to look at the last clue properly because we spent too long on the first few. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it, I guess?
Well, and for Anna to...
music questions.
What's that, Dave? Sorry?
The only exception I'd make without going for an instant one if you'd no idea what the music was, but that's...
Yeah. I think Anna very kind of justifiably assumed that none of us really have much Monty Python knowledge. That would normally be a very, very safe bet.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We are graced by Jack Whaley Cohen, who people all know is the one of the question editors. So he's speaking from the production standpoint. We loved how both teams played the game so well. Great OC technique throughout, even in the face of some very hard questions when the questions found gaps in knowledge. It was brilliant play. Did you guys have any particular strategies for the final, or is it just a case of we'll keep doing what got us there?
I mean, one thing I noticed was that just by doing the episodes, you got so into the mindset that, like, by that point you kind of, I don't know, laser focused on the Only Connect style. So I don't think we did anything particularly. Just sort of went through the book again, or.
Yeah, we had a copy of I think we maybe had both the different quiz books, but one of them was a loan from a friend of ours who said, "Oh, you should borrow this if you're going to be on Only Connect," and we kept hold of it through the whole of the filming. And when we'd finished, at the end, we went to Victoria and we got her to sign it and said, you know, they say thanks for the loan to our friend, and we gave her back the book, but we didn't tell her when we'd got it signed. We were just like, oh, we saw Victoria before we left and we got her to sign it. But I guess that's a bit more meaningful now that she knows why. But yeah, we did a bit of working through the book. We did some practice walls on websites, kind of all sat around an iPad and practice some walls. And I guess also, it's about sort of being in the right mindset for Only Connect, because I think you almost have to think like a question writer, and you have to be like, well, here is a fact I know about that thing, and that's a fact that could apply to approximately 3 other things. So maybe it's that. You kind of have, like, what would make a good Only Connect question is a really good thing to be thinking about while you're trying to answer a question, I guess.
It felt to me like it was only sort of by the semi-finals that we sort of properly got the hang of actually playing it in the studio.
There's a shocked face from chat. Carry on.
I was going to say we had like a 3-pronged approach to our strategy. One was one was to go for the more aggressive hieroglyphs. So lion, horned viper, strike out our opponents, and to demonstrate our dominance. And the second one was to listen to music on the drive, because we were only in Bristol, so we were commuting, and we have a baby as well, so it was impossible for us to spend the night in Cardiff. But we were commuting, so on the drive over the bridge, we'd play the Pokemon theme tune and some Run the Jewels, and then some Cardi B for me, and then we'd all be all pumped up. And the third approach was that we actually have a secret 4th team member, who's our friend Ben, who was our alternate when we applied, who really grilled us and gave us an infinite number of walls over the months of the pandemic, and questions. Very mean, tough questions.
From when we first got the audition, he was just writing walls, and we'd have like multiple walls through some days, or like 3 a.m. kind of wake up in the morning and find he's sent one that has landed on our phone. So that was very helpful, although we never got full marks for the walls. So
I know.
Also, he would send them while we were filming. So we'd come out of like having filmed an episode. He'd be like, "Got one for you," Or we'd be like, do you know what, Ben?
We're gonna give it a couple hours.
We're gonna give it a minute, yeah, but thanks. But he's a wonderful bloke, and he helps out a bunch.
Yeah.
I had like every single sort of thing that I learned during the or like question that I got given or something happened just after when it was useful, or all the other team got the question that it was relevant for. Like there was one that the none of it one. My friend Phil writes a quiz every week and he sends it out, and that was in the quiz that he was going to send out on the Wednesday night before the Thursday filming, and he decided not to for some reason. He was like too busy or something, so he sent it the following week, and that the question about like the biggest province in Canada was in that quiz. So I just missed out on a point because he was too busy that evening.
Dave, what was your kind of highlight, your champagne moment of the evening?
There was for me, there was two great. The actual neck and neck all the way through was just made it just absolutely classic viewing. The questions that you'd already talked about, the 5-pointer and the potential 5-pointer, I don't think were even your best answers by any stretch of the imagination. I wrote down the maths sequence that Paul got.
Yeah,
still don't get it.
I have no idea what that was.
Yeah, I watched it an hour ago. I'm so confused now. And the app icons, the Pinterest, and I mean, I'm just like they're just. I don't see anything. Yeah, and obviously the Roy G. Biv. I mean, because we don't say that. Yeah.
I had just watched the Home Edit on Netflix, which uses that parlance quite often. It is a very specific time in lockdown. So.
But yeah, I mean, the performances tonight was fantastic. Yeah, the walls, I think Gareth's already hit on Twitter, were very similar to the walls in the very first season 1 final, where they were all. I think one team had all letters, and another team had all numbers.
Yeah.
So I think what they try and do is to try and make them as like similar. Obviously, you don't want any disparity in the two, especially in the final. But they try and make them as different as they can, but the same. If you know what I mean.
There was sorry, just to say, before when Only Connect was on BBC 4 and they used to put up the walls for people to play, there was a brilliant one of those, and that's one of the first times because Sam introduced me to Only Connect about 8 years ago, and he showed me the wall, and it was just all like eyes, like the letter I in different. It was really hard. Anyway, so when I saw our wall, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like that one from the website that doesn't even get updated.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember who had the one. I can't remember who had which wall, but the one where it was the 4 authors at the end.
Oh, yeah. Charlie got that. Charlie had forgotten that he got that. He thought I got it because Charlie and authors is not. That's not his specialist subject.
I didn't actually know any of the authors. I was just like, they look something. Who are people who have 2 first letters? Tolkien. Yeah. Maybe they're authors.
If you say any 2 letters out loud like that, I think it sounds like an author's first 2 initials.
Yeah. It's sort of a thing you learn just.
The other one was
watching.
The TS, because that for me all the way through. That's where does Tennessee fit? Where does Tennessee? That's Tennessee. Where does Tennessee fit? Yeah. Oh, it's not Tennessee's team. Oh, very good. Yeah. I'll be quiet now.
Jack's got a fun fact. He says the math sequence in the final was written by the same person as wrote both walls. So we know that it was an evil-minded person. That I think.
Yes, we need to know who. We can't just. Like that.
Yeah. Don't worry about why.
The fluffer says my highlight was definitely the maths question 4, the appearance of a banana.
Yes,
that's Jamie Fryer.
Yeah, that's
Jamie from the Barons. Yeah.
And of course,
so obviously we had Banana Gate on one of our episodes with the Barons.
Indeed. And just mentioning Jamie, it's like I'm now thinking there could be a special with kind of lookalikes and soundalikes, as Jamie was identified as a Suggs lookalike, and you were identified as a Richard Iowati soundalike. So we just need to find one more alike, lookalike, soundalike, and you've got a team for a special. There you go. Free suggestions for Jenny Heap there. But
not before we have the Champions League, Jenny. Come on, 9 years I've been waiting.
So yeah, if we look at the, my champagne moment, I have to say, was the correct pronunciation of horned viper. I almost kind of punched the air there with that one. I was very pleased with that one. I'm old school. But yeah, so the crocodile tears, Banana Republic, Kangaroo Court, Cock and Bull. The Cock and Bull, that was one of those kind of flashes of inspiration at the end, was it?
Yeah, I think I was never going to get that from the 3 before it, but as soon as I saw those two animals together, it's not a lot else that could have been in my head. It just
I missed that question today, so I was still putting our daughter to sleep, so I came down a bit late. So hearing you guys talk about Cock and Bull is a bit of a flashback moment for me.
On that theme, I've just remembered what Victoria said about the end of the dice question. We very much didn't want 6 and 5, which enough. Don't talk about that. Yeah,
exactly. Jack has said the person who wrote those questions was blessed with pure evil, and it'd be hard to. Horned viper forever, always got abuse every week, never back down, got to be done. But crucially, and I'm with him on this, Jamie was very disappointed his version of My Girl didn't get played.
Great rendition.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of what were your favourite gets? On the way to winning the title, Puzzle Hunters, were there some which really played into your kind of puzzly kind of skills and talents?
I mean, mine is undoubtedly the 4 shifted by 4 one. Like, that just...
It was a beautiful moment. It was great.
I remember in the studio, like, when Ali was giving the answer to that, and we'd been conferring for 40 seconds, or however long it is, and we had nothing. And then it was handed over to us, I think. And Ali started saying the answer, and I said, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah, we just kind of watching it happening from. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. No, I think because between us we do a lot of kind of word puzzles and crosswords and sort of puzzles where you're converting letters to numbers and that kind of thing. So, because you do occasionally get those kinds of questions. So, like the 5-pointer that we got in the final was very sort of crosswordy. Kind of the immediately jumping to the right synonyms for things, I guess, is a really useful thing to be able to do. But it's often just a case of like, do you spot it? And with a crossword, you can sit there for half an hour and think about it and go away and have a cup of tea, but you don't really have that option.
There was a question way back in our first episode, right, where it was words. The first clue was a word starting with A and ending with B, with the first and last letters removed. So it was just plum, I think.
Yeah.
And then a C blank D word.
And was there another one where it was like that contained all the letters of the alphabet in a row, and we had to come up with something that contained X, Y, and Z for the last clue. That was another one that was like that as well. And Ali managed to get in a reference to an old text adventure game, which was quite enjoyable.
Dungeon Masters, how about you? What was your favourite get of the night or the series, Indy?
I think I'm constantly astounded by these guys' knowledge, but I just want to make this public. I got Shakespearean anachronisms all by myself, and it's the smartest 2 words I've ever said, and I've never been prouder. And so that for me really that's going to be maybe my Twitter bio for the rest of my life. I like, these guys showed up every week in, week out. I was good on the missing vowels and helpful on the Britney Spears songs in our first wall, but other than that, didn't bring a huge amount to it. But tonight I got that Shakespearean anachronism, so that's going to be my favorite for life.
That was my favorite of the night.
As well.
Sorry.
I've got some bad news for Charlie.
Yeah, and we were
only the second best pair of dungarees on the night.
I know. I feel absolutely shown up.
We both immediately spotted and wanted those off University Challenge.
They were spectacular, and was it Van Gogh or something like that? I thought it particularly good.
Sunflowers, yeah.
There was a moment on the Kennedy Lincoln question where I really felt for you, Charlie, where it's like, you know, the guy, the hat, the beard, that one, you know, it was like when sometimes the word won't come.
It's fine. I've only got a politics degree. I don't think it's that relevant. It's not don't worry about it. It's fine.
The other one who got murdered was fantastic.
And we spoke afterwards about how there has actually been more than 2 assassinated presidents. Don't worry, we've cleared that up as well.
But it was good teamwork because, you know, Charlie clearly knew what the answer was, but the name wouldn't come, and it was just the persistence was just a delight to see. So well done on that.
If you keep talking, if you keep saying things until the answer occurs, then you're fine.
I was like, I don't want Victoria to say anything because then she'll be like, we got to chuck it over. And I was like, I'm just going to keep saying like, don't worry about it, we'll get there. And I thought she was going to take it from us way earlier than that. But yeah, fine.
Sometimes it's nice to see somebody suffer in a good way.
Have you looked at the full list of those, by the way? The comparisons, the Kennedy Lincoln ones. There's like about 37. They just picked out the highlights there. There's about 37 different ones that, like, all the conspiracy nuts of. Well, his sister was called this.
Yeah, well,
that's another one that. Oh, sorry, Katie. Go ahead.
I think we were kind of talking, like, we knew that when you were getting the question up, and it was lovely that you got it because obviously it's gettable. But I think because there's been a crossword about it. I think in the last like year or so, because this is where we get most of our knowledge. But there's like a crossword themed around the Lincoln Kennedy coincidences, and they were all like hidden in the grid at the end or something ridiculous. But because of that, because you always end up reading the full Wikipedia article just to check that you've not missed anything to make sure you've got the right letters in the grid. So it was sort of in there, and we knew what that was. But yeah, it's a terrifying list of things and like stuff that people have obviously done some digging to find some of it because it's not obvious stuff.
It's another one of those that, Ali, like the knowledge for me just came, it was, I think, a week or 2 later on the No Such Thing as a Fish podcast. So I was listening to that and I was like, yes, I know. I know that now.
So we've got another fun fact from Jack. We should have him on every week because, you know, fun facts are great. Paul Sinha was tweeting about the Kennedy-Lincoln coincidences on the night before the final. We nearly pulled it from the show. That's a sliding doors moment. It
was funny because the quiz account followed us all on Twitter the day before the final, and we were like, oh, this just must be like something special for finalists. You get followed. And they were like, no, we were just checking if you followed Paul Sinha because then we were going to and I was like, oh. Okay.
I do. Oh, maybe we all do. And they say
I think that's probably it.
I don't think it can entirely stop that sort of coincidence coming up, really. But I can imagine the sort of panic and discussions that happened in the production suite over that one.
If you pulled everything that Paul Sinha tweeted, you'd be hard pressed to find a show.
So looking down, I mean, there's a whole bunch of great answers here. I'm still trying to work out what was the song with Die Meister, Die Besten, Le Grande Équipe.
It's the song that they play at the beginning of the Champions League, like into the TV show. But I mean, none of us knew that. Paul just plucked it out of nowhere.
Like, they all sounded like they were sort of phrases that meant people who've done well.
Yeah.
So they didn't all look like they were bad things to be called.
Okay, well that's good because when I was on Only Connect, we gave that as an answer and it was wrong. So there you go. What goes around comes around. So at the end of round 1 you were tied, and at the end of round 2 you were tied. So going into the walls, did you feel pressure? Because, you know, that can be make or break, and particularly you must have been anticipating really difficult walls for the final.
Yeah, I
mean,
feel
for
like
us.
Come.
Oh, sorry, thanks. For us, it was like the wall has not been our strong point, and I think we've all felt like we do okay at a wall at home watching it, where you don't really properly work out which are the red herrings and exactly. You just say 4 categories and go, yeah, we got that, 10 out of 10.
But in both of our auditions, we did really well on the wall as well.
We did well in our auditions.
We auditioned for the previous season, and we got the wall in the quickest time that they'd had. And then this season, we got the wall in like such short time last year. But then just on the show, it went. Yeah. We were not as solid 10 points. That was my thought going in. Like every wall will smash. And then we'll see how the other rounds go, but it was very much the opposite.
And I think knowing that kind of we really hadn't done well at the wall, so I think going into round 3 we probably didn't feel great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it again. I was glad that we didn't look stupid because I was expecting like a 0 to 20 score going into the wall. So I was glad that we just had answered questions and that we were keeping up with you guys, because I do think, like, hands down, you're the better team, the best team one. You guys are incredibly intelligent. We were having a great time, but not necessarily the brains of the operation.
We feel the same as you.
I mean, I was just glad that we didn't get 0.
Honestly, we had exactly the same. Like, if we get to the quarterfinals, that's amazing. That was our goal. We couldn't believe like any of the wins that we had, and then we were massively scared of you.
I mean,
because you guys have had a chance to see the others in action, hadn't you? Which is kind of unusual for the show. So you've got a bit of reconnaissance.
Yeah, well, I think because the filming was pushed so late, I think there were teams like the second block of filming. I think there were teams playing against teams that they'd seen on TV, and I'm not sure to what extent. Maybe we'd seen a couple of things with people that we then went on to play against.
It was our half of the draw. Like the first round of our half had all been on before the rest of the filming. So, like, I think that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like anything with these things, I guess, because obviously a good only connect strategy is not necessarily to know a lot of things, but just to be quite good at guessing things that might be true. You sort of see a thing and you're like, is that this? Is it plausible that that's what these other things are? Okay, yeah, we'll try that. I think there was at least one question in the final where someone said the answer, and then Victoria was like, do you know what any of these are? And we were like, no, just one of them, and we guessed it from the others. And I think it's a lot of the time it is largely, I'm not saying it's luck, but it's about how the questions fall and about how the knowledge falls and about what you happen to have read, or it could be any factor that influences it. So I don't think like we're necessarily that knowledgeable. I think just that kind of the strengths that we have suit the game. I guess it's a game that we're suited to, because it's almost not quite a quiz. It's kind of puzzles in some ways. So I kind of feel like it's
Like I always said before we went on, or before we actually started filming, that if we got to something like the semi-final, the questions then get so sort of puzzly and not general knowledge-y that we've got a chance. But I wasn't optimistic about getting to that point. So
my goal going into it was my goal was to not be embarrassed by my performance. Like if I could come home and say that I had done okay, and not be
you wanted to be an ABBA champion, if you were. Yes. I feel the same.
We our goal was to win 1 game so that we could play 2 more and come back in October, because the structure of the way this season worked out was like the initial heats were all in August, but if you lost 2 games in a row, you'd do both of those on the same day in August, and then you'd have gone home. And it was like, well, if we can win one game in August, then we've got something in October to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of our thinking at the start. So it was like, yeah, let's try and win one game. That would be good.
Harry says he was a fan of the knitted bunting around the studio, and we heard earlier Jack saying that originally a brass band was booked, and due to COVID had to be cancelled. Did you feel any sense that kind of the occasion was lessened, or did it not matter because it was just about the game and playing the game?
See, it's funny that Jack says that because I initially sort of thought, I wonder what the gimmick's going to be, and then there wasn't one. I'm like, okay, fair enough. But then one of the Christmas specials, was it the strings one or something, had a string quartet, or did it?
Yeah, it's like a music one. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's probably had more to do with the actual strings as opposed to the actual vapors coming out of the brass band.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
As a brass bander, I've got a lot of friends who've had some very serious conversations over the past year about whether they can continue with their hobby or their job or whatever.
Is it 2 meters from the end of the trombone, or is it?
That's the question.
When fully extended.
Yeah, but I've heard actually it's not actually that bad for spreading, because like the air that you breathe out goes around the inside of the instrument, so most of any particulate that's in there, this is entirely scientific, will probably just sort of land on the inside. Like the inside of your trumpet will be very COVID-y, but then the air that comes out at the end is fine. I don't know, but yeah, it's
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
It's not like you're not actually moving that much air, you're vibrating the air, which then vibrates the next bit of air, kind of thing. It's it feels like, because you're blowing into it, like air would be coming out, but it's more creating a vibration, in my experience.
Yes.
BSc.
Yes, and those. Yes, we both have MSCs. They're both in education, so don't worry about it. But we both have. We're both masters of science, so that's okay. I was going to say, if anybody felt like they were missing a funny musical version, Sam's orchestra, he arranged it last week for his orchestra to play. So there's online, you can see the Fantasy Orchestra's Only Connect version. It's an interesting key.
It's not extremely in tune.
No.
It was a very quick turnaround.
It's not extremely in tune, so that's setting expectations nicely.
I think one of the key questions we need to ask is, did you get a trophy each?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we did. We were surprised.
Look at Dave's bridal. Back in Dave's day, you didn't get one each, did you, Dave? And you had to buy the other two.
Or not.
Or not.
in the words of Alan Gibbs, £600, I'd rather get a block of Perspex and some Tipex. That was, we only got one trophy. Jenny, we'll still take some more if you want it.
What year did they start doing multiple trophies?
I don't know. With Series 3, I think it was definitely, obviously, I'm trying to think. Series 4 didn't, because Series 4 was Mrs. Stainer. And Katie and David have theirs as bookends. And
we first applied for Series 4.
Wow! It took you that long to get on. Did you apply repeatedly, or was it
like 8? There was our 8th application.
Wow!
Our 3rd audition.
I know Lindsay, who's been on the show a few times. She'd applied several times, hasn't she? She'd just as an individual. But we got a trophy to only last year. That doesn't matter. Last year. I know, but keep it. That's the advice. Keep at them. They will give in eventually.
I have to say, sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say, in our application for this season, we thought the application went so badly that Sam didn't even want to submit it because he thought it would make us look bad. Because we didn't do very well in the application, but we'd already auditioned the year before. So I think they probably were like, well, we know them.
Yeah, when we went in for our last audition, like the people who were auditioning us were like, "Oh, hi, how are you doing? Haven't seen you for a little while." And like, "Oh, you were still wearing that jumper." And I'm like, "Oh God," you know.
So we're doing this
they
again.
remembered us. Yeah, they're just such a lovely team of people that do the auditions and get everyone
What
through.
did you do after when you'd won?
Yeah.
What did you do after when you'd won?
Ran to the train.
Yeah, we were to get home. Yeah, because.
All right, I think we were pumped up. I can't remember obviously. Obviously, you'd want to go for a couple of beers and celebrate, but yeah, it'd be,
I think we had a couple.
There was a little thing. Yeah, it was like in a marquee outside the building, and glasses of champagne and chatting. But we literally had about 20 minutes, and then we had to run and get on a train.
We had some drinks on the train, though.
Yeah, we took plenty of drinks with us. Yeah.
It was very cold as well, just to not make you feel too bad about it. We spent most of that time, in the marquee with masks on and just lifting them up to have a drink, talking to the question setters because we just are fascinated by it.
Yeah, that was the really cool thing, that the question setters came up to us at the kind of after thing and said, "We're allowed to talk to you now." Like, during the filming, they obviously don't want to like have a casual conversation with you, and something comes up in conversation, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've been reading a lot about this lately," and they're like, "Oh God," "Oh why?" Because you were writing a question. So like you don't know who they are, and they're just.
There's also really
people. Yeah.
Sorry, you cracked up there. I thought you'd stopped. There's a really cool dynamic with the question writers on Twitter as well, because obviously, like, you're the only two sets of people who know what's happened or what the answers to their questions are. So yeah, it's quite fun to like interact with them.
We've got Felipe from Chile on. He posted a little bit earlier, but I do like this comment. Not been able to watch the final of Only Cadet, but I'm sure Dave's Jacket will broadcast it. So I think your shirt's like one of those magic eye things. If we stare at it long enough, we'll probably get like a dinosaur or something loom out.
Dolphin, yeah.
So yeah, good to have you on board, Felipe. So yeah, we got that's our second person from kind of over the pond. We got Grace in America and Felipe in Chile, so that's good. We need a little map. We can put a pin. I have to say, one of my favorite moments was when Dungeon Masters saw your wall, and there was this plaintive, "Oh no!"
I should have expected it from a final wall. It should have been. I should have known that it was going to be slightly trickier, sort of, tricksy. But yeah, I don't think I was very good at hiding my emotions on the show, which were almost always just bafflement and delight. So, but yeah, that was like oh my goodness, I was amazed. That was the best we did on a wall all season, and got 7.
I swore during our first wall that to be edited out. And I got Miss Heap sort of like stormed on and said, "What did you say?" I'm like, "No, I didn't realize I'd done it." We got down to the last two groups, and I just went, "Oh yeah, it's and it wasn't. I just goes, "Oh shit." Like, we'll have to bleep it out later. Sorry.
Yeah, that was another high point. Can we do that?
Yes, that was incredible.
I just know that netball. That was the only thing.
Yeah, the other team's wall is the only bit you don't get to see during filming. So when we're watching the episode back, that's always the best bit to watch, because you get to see, we know what the result of it was. Because we hear numbers when you come back. But
I'm pretty sure we would have got 7 on your wall as well.
I think there was one I can't remember what was one harder group on each of the walls. One of which was the comedy surnames.
Yeah.
That was
there.
Just
B, Jack D. I can't remember the V person. I can't remember the V person.
Cindy V. Yeah.
And the K or Vernon K, whoever you want. Yeah, I thought that was noticeably different than those three groups. And there was one on the other wall as well, which I didn't make a note of.
Yeah, Caribbean country codes, as Jack said. Because once you see it, it's like, I mean, of course, but The trick is, of course, seeing it, which under pressure is not easy. So no, I think there were two. I think all you can ask for as a contestant is that the walls are going to be balanced. That there's luck involved in the other categories and how they fall, etc. But I do think the wall, you just want it to be a level playing field, and it definitely was this time round. Hence, you both went into the final round neck and neck. Alex writes for a number of quiz shows. Alex has put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 was the pinnacle of OC Grand Final for me. So anything with numbers I'm rubbish at. So I marvel at any of those, I have to say.
So I always feel like, as three mathematicians, I always feel a sort of mild panic sets in, because I'm like, oh God, it's a maths one. If we don't get this, my maths cred will be shot. And like that overrides any actual thinking that's trying to happen.
It's really funny for me because I've done a PhD in maths, but I'm like, oh, the others will get that one. Like I'm not the maths person. So I just
I'm broad strokes maths, and Paul's mental arithmetic, and Ali's sort of logic and infinity. I think that's a split.
As I've said many times, Sam's like arts and music and literature, and Charlie's everything else, and I am very good at supporting them emotionally.
Don't do yourself down. You all had brilliant moments over the course of the series. Samantha's just brought up Ali's classical poet anagrams from a few episodes ago. I mean, it's that kind of flash of inspiration coupled with teamwork, which is why teams like you get to the final. So it's fantastic. You both had a brilliant series. The problem was you then got to missing vowels with a neck and neck. Now, I posted on Twitter, could we see the first ever grand final tiebreaker? Was that preying on the minds of the captains? Because I know when I was a captain, that was the one thing I didn't want to have to do.
I mean, is it just the captains if it's a
tiebreaker?
tiebreaker?
I'd say you are right, it's captains only, yeah.
Right.
Captains only, no category, you just have to solve it.
Right.
It is.
I don't know.
They say no category, but they've always had something like
winner takes it all or something.
To the spoils, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's always a bit meta.
That's, to be honest, that's why I was the captain, because we thought before going into it, no, not in the mean. But I am quick on the missing vowels, so that's the only difference between the captain and anyone else. And having to do the very stressful bit at the beginning of talking to Victoria off the cuff, which was...
You are the most charismatic.
Oh my gosh, thank you so
much. I think we made the decision based on the fact that my ability to have banter conversation with Victoria is 0, and we thought that would be funniest. But yeah, just the number of, like, watching myself back on TV, I'm like, how did I, like, why did I think that was a good thing to say? I'm so bad at this. We didn't, like, by the second or third match, we were practicing banter questions. Like, they were trying questions on me, like, what would you say if she said, what was your highlight of the last game? Or, like, we genuinely were making sure I wasn't going to stuff that up, because it kind of threw me. Like, the really bad match we had, the banter at the start, I was just like, oh God, I've just absolutely done terribly at that. And it just threw me off for the whole game. So I don't know if that was why I don't know. But yeah, anyway, the thing that I was going to say, what were we talking about before this? Tie breaks, yeah. I feel like I might have come across as not as strong at missing vowels, but every time I knew it, but Paul also buzzed, I didn't say anything, because if you both say it and one of you's wrong, that counts as wrong. And I didn't want to stuff up something that Paul had got the answer. Like, if he knows it, I'm not going to say anything, because he's definitely going to say the right answer. So there were almost half of the ones that Paul buzzed in on, I was ready to say the answer if he didn't. And I'd also pressed the button, but I held back because I didn't want to get things wrong. So I feel like I'm probably stronger at missing vowels than maybe people think from having watched me on the show. But I don't know if I would.
I also had got one wrong in the first match, and that kind of dented my confidence for the entire rest of it.
We didn't have any incorrect missing vowels until ABBA Champion, which sounds like a thing, and I don't know who Bob Champion is. So it was a good guess because it was so tied all the way through. I think that's the thing. We were not expecting at all to be that close. And so with the missing vowels, it was like, you've just got to go in because it's now, it's like you didn't even play the first 3 rounds.
Well,
it's down to that one.
I think with Gareth's question earlier, asking about kind of, did any strategy change? I think, having watched back the last few weeks, I think after we get the quarterfinal, knowing that we get 2 more games no matter what, I think we take a lot more risks.
Just go super aggressive.
I think the semi-final especially, we would just kind of like, just if we think we know it, just go for 5 points. So yeah, I think we definitely started kind of throwing caution to the wind a lot more.
On the tie-break thing, I definitely remember at one point having a conversation saying, should we try and workshop potential tie-break missing vowels and like hesitate on them in case that happens?
This is the kind of thing we do, isn't it? Yeah. It's the kind of thing we do. Like for the first set of filming when we went down on the train, I got out my bag and just I'd like printed out all the US presidents, all the states, all the UK counties, like all of these lists of things that you should just sort of have. And I just we were just testing each other on them on the way down on the train, all of which was useless. Like none of it came.
No Oscar-winning films.
Yeah, we did Oscar-winning films. We did, I mean, it's actually come in handy for other quizzes. I realised all of that, but not for this one.
We did the same thing with Charlie being in our bubble. He's been in our bubble for the whole of lockdown. We like completed Sporkle pretty much. We would do like every evening. We just spend like 2 hours doing revision.
But it's that, as like you say, I don't think either of our teams are kind of traditional quizzes in that way, where we've memorized those lists. So we were trying to do it as well. We kind of
kings and queens.
None of us ever got round to monarchs.
Yeah.
None of us ever got round to like memorizing UK monarchs or whatever, but none of us are that kind of quizzer really. We love games and we love Only Connect and we love puzzles to a certain extent like you do, but
that's a really funny thing because like a lot of the other teams when we played them, they'd all been on other quiz shows and things like that. I don't think any of us have been, and I'm not sure.
Yes.
Oh, have you? Sorry.
I was on The Weakest Link in 2008, came fourth, voted off because I was a threat. Thank you very much.
I mean, not that it's not something we would ever do, but yeah, I think it's sort of like we are less kind of traditional quizzes. That's
how the dynamic has changed from the early days. I mean, the first 3 winners, you got the Crossworders, which was all very, very serious quizzes. You've got the Rugby Boys, which included Mark Lebet. And you've got our team, which was myself, Alan, and Jenny Ryan. All of them were just we were just into quizzes, and the fact that everything sort of went together with the knowledge that we had. But yeah, you're right, exactly right in what you said. The dynamic has definitely switched to more to the logic and the puzzles.
And that's why we thanked the producers after we won for not letting us on any of the other times we'd applied. Because we needed it to get to this sort of puzzly like juncture.
We've got Dungeon Masters and Puzzle Hunters was a quite meta missing vowels answer. And Jack has chipped in on this one, said, we've been planning that Champions Missing Vowels group since Series 13, but Vowed would only do it if and when the scores were tied going into Missing Vowels. So we were lucky to see that. It was a quite sweet one. I think, early in when we were doing QUIZZY Monday Live, we talked a lot about how filming works, but I think what perhaps people who've not been on it won't appreciate is people at home see the clues before the people in the studio do. So very often at home, you're thinking, well, I got that before them. But actually, when you see the wide shot, both teams are going for it exactly the same time because they've literally just seen it and go for the buzzer. So losing, missing vowels can just be that fraction of a second reaction time rather than just one team being good at it and one team not. Because both of your teams, you were talking on Twitter before the show, both of your teams had really good missing vowels throughout the series. Some of the best missing vowels that we'd seen. So something was going to have to give, and it's those fractions of a second reaction time that really make the difference, isn't it? Did you, Puzzle Hunters, did you feel it going your way, like a couple of sets in, or did you just not have a clue what was happening?
I mean, for the last two missing vowels rounds, I sort of checked out after a few, and was trying to just like pray that the others would get them and sort of keeping track of the score. So I think actually for our last 4 games, I knew that we had won at the end. But the price of knowing that was that I was not quite there.
You were the one keeping the accounts whilst everybody else was playing.
Just keep us under the table if we need to get more.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think I had definitely stopped keeping count of things and was just solely focused on. But to be honest, at the end of that, I could literally watch another half an hour of Paul doing 3 types of elements. That was genuinely my favourite. Just Paul buzzing in on every single one. So
it was a really lucky category to get last, not because of my extensive hip hop knowledge, but like the style of it.
You know the elements, Paul. Come on.
I was really hoping the hip hop knowledge would swing that last category my way, but yeah, just a bit quicker.
Fate is a cruel mistress.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's a point that Paul reminded me of earlier that was kind of a behind the scenes fact about the missing vowels, because they do like practice rounds before you start filming just to make sure the buzzers work and everything. One of the practices, they're just always like really stupid meta things like what did the question writers buy from Spa last night and stuff like that. And one of them was contestants in this final but with no consonants.
Oh yeah.
It turns out that me and Charlie have the same vowels in our name. So one of them came up and we buzzed in with like, which one? I can't remember which one someone said, but it was the other one. We were like, oh, wow. Yeah.
That was really funny. There was one in one of the previous rounds as well where the question was in the practice round, contestant or people with long hair, and Charlie Deeks was one of the answers.
I didn't get it. I was just staring at it like.
We've got an inside bit of knowledge again from Jack. The sets we didn't see in that final one were water, lithium, DJing, and arsenic, graffiti. So yeah, you know, if you just had those, who knows? And Alex saying very much enjoying Ali's dissociation strategy. Might use that in everyday life going forward.
I wonder if you can see the moment that I check out.
You just
That moment where you just sort of relax.
You just fold your arms.
Well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
I think it's funny when you look back. I remember my semi-final, and there was a question we didn't get right. Our picks didn't go our way, but there was one we didn't get right. And when the opposition got it right, I was like, still don't understand it. And it's like about 4 questions later, you can see the penny drop. When all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's like I've been thinking about that question, which had already gone, rather than thinking about the actual game, which was still going on. But Grace,
I'm still like that with that math sequence, really.
I mean, you could spend a day explaining that to me, and I still don't think I would ever understand it.
No, I think there are some things which fall into your wheelhouse, and the maths ones certainly don't for me. Grace just popped up, said that she's going to miss Quizzy Monday so much. Well, Grace, we're here for at least a couple of weeks, and then we're going to think about whether we do some Quizzy Mondays, which are not necessarily reflecting on the shows, but talking about other stuff related to quiz. So keep your eyes out, and if people haven't subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure that if we do go live, you get notified about that. So yeah, there was so obviously Puzzle Hunters came out on top at the end of the missing vowels. There was a comment earlier which I'm going to try and find. There's been a lot of comments, but I think it's quite appropriate. God blimey, it's going back a long way now. And it's a comment about the sort of final comments by Victoria, which were just quite. Here we are. Victoria's closing remarks were very sweet and a very great send-off. And I think for me, and I think for a lot of the viewers, and clearly for you guys as contestants, it's been one of the saving graces of lockdown. I think Only Connect. It's been something that on a Monday night kind of challenges us, lifts us, entertains us, never ever bores us, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I thought her comments were absolutely on point, you know, and a little bit poignant, because she was saying, well, I hope by the time you watch this that we'll be out of all of this, and we're not. But yeah, I mean, on behalf of like viewers, thank you to all of you and everybody else who's been on series. It's been an absolutely brilliant series. You've been really, really entertaining. Yeah, so thanks. What next for you guys? So, you know, Anna, are you going to leave it another like 15 years, 14 years before we see you on TV again?
Well, I have appeared numerous other times on television, but just not on quiz shows. I have decided that I want to try to sell out with this opportunity and monetize my knowledge. So I've applied for several cash-paying quiz shows. If anybody would like to let me know any more, just to try to get some cash. But no, I mean, we once pub quizzes are back, I think honestly one of the top things on our list to do probably over the summer is going to be to try to have a gathering that didn't ever get to happen in the pubs. We really, really bonded with some of the teams. Obviously you guys, but we are mortal enemies. But also like the Barons, we played them twice. I vibed so much with Selena from the Après Skiers that we're like BFFs now, and we're going to go up to Leicester and see them. So I think that the next thing for us is just to get to hang out with all the people that we met. And as Sam said in his brilliant tweet, the real quiz was the friends we made along the way.
Stand by it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a suspicion that this year would have been one of the weirdest years of my life without the Only Connect experience added to it. But, you know, with all the filming and the actually traveling and going on trains, which was very weird, and all of the kind of knowing things that we're not telling people, which has been quite interesting as well. But yeah, just met some absolutely fantastic people, and it would be really cool eventually, hopefully, to get the chance to kind of all meet up and hang out and stuff. And yeah,
well, the Only Connect reunion in normal times would be happening sort of January, February time. So hopefully by January, February next year, we will be able to meet up and have a very messy evening in London. I would say it's memorable. Just can't remember anything. But it will be good to all catch up, because I think there is something a bit different, a bit special about Only Connect. I think it does bring people together, not just within that series, but within other series. And there's a kind of shared camaraderie, and the production team are second to none as well. They're just absolutely superb.
Yeah, they went to such extreme efforts with the COVID security of it all as well, that like I was a bit worried when we went in August. Obviously, like everybody else, I felt a very intense anxiety about that. Oh, Hal's watching! Hi, Hal! Hi, Hal! You're my favorite. But yeah, like they went to, like, it was very safe and secure in terms of when we were there. And it, you know, also I just want to say the food, the catering, like the unsung heroes, 3-course lunches every day, so delicious. If anything, people should apply for the show just for the option of the catering.
They certainly do look after you. Puzzle Hunters, what next for you guys? Are you going to stay as a team and try and compete in something else, or kind of, you know, break up the band and go it solo, a little bit like Anna, who's shedding her teammates?
We understand.
I mean, Katie and Paul have the option to go on that the Frank Paul and
Bobby
Bobby
Seagull.
Seagull vehicle, don't they? Like, 'cause it's yeah, you have to be living in the same.
Oh yeah. I mean, we could always do Pointless, right? That would be our on our list. Like, we've been and watched the filming of Pointless, but we've not been on it yet. But that might be a fun one. But I suspect as a team we'll carry on puzzle hunting, obviously, because that's the next best thing. And there's several kind of annual big puzzle hunts that happen entirely online anyway, because a lot of them happen in the US and in Australia. So we've never actually been to one in person. We've only ever hunted remotely at most of the big ones. But yeah, that's always a good week of weird hours and staying up late and staring at computers for several hours on end. But yeah, I think that's where we've kind of built up a lot of the skills that we have in terms of like getting good answers out of each other and prompting ideas and kind of sparking off each other. So it's definitely and it's fun. It's my favorite thing to do.
So Philip's just said, Felipe, sorry, has said, I'm a new subscriber. Brilliant. Welcome, Felipe. Good to have you on board. Normally on Quizzy Monday, we talk about the other two shows, but we kind of haven't really touched on those. I think it's worth noting in Mastermind, Tim Hall, who's well known in quiz circles, he does Grand Prix, he does OQL. So Tim won quite comfortably in Mastermind, and I think in University Challenge, Magdalene won pretty comfortably there. So I think we've got a very tasty University Challenge final to look forward to next week. We've got at least one captain coming on. Hopefully I might be able to wangle Dan Lawson as well. So we've got both there. And we know the Mastermind semi-finals start next week. And Claire, who has put in the chat that she's on one of those. So we look forward to seeing Claire and Mastermind really getting into its final stretch. But I think tonight really was all about Only Connect because it was such a fantastically tight match. Two really, really well-matched teams. Great questions, great answers. It was absolutely superb. And Bombshell, Howell says, "Oh, you think I'm Howell, the floor manager? I'm not." So he's getting a lot of love he doesn't deserve. And
sorry, Howell, you mean nothing to me. Yeah.
Great change you on the run on the floor. So yeah, oops. But Howell's been on himself, haven't you, Howell? So you're an alumnus, maybe a series champion, but I might be misremembering that.
You was, yeah.
So it's been fantastic having you on tonight. We really enjoyed seeing it. I know sometimes when you lose, the last thing you want to be doing is kind of going and churning all over it, Dungeon Masters. But you've been great sports, really entertaining. You've been just as you were on the show. Very entertaining.
We didn't lose. We came second. That's amazing.
You did.
Losing.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
We have a silver medal. We're on the podium.
We're on the Wikipedia.
We're on the Wikipedia. That is the most.
That was a highlight for me too.
That is a big moment. You're probably also on IMDb now as well.
Oh.
And if not, you will be.
You're going straight on the LinkedIn.
Howell has confirmed that he was Board Gamers Champions of Season 8. So that's the Howell, but I'm sure he'll take all the love for the other Howell.
They're both great, yeah.
Grace says, I don't really know what I will do in my life now that OC is over. Well, I was speaking to Jenny Heap, the producer, just the other day, and she is just about to deliver the first episodes of the next series. So it is coming, Grace. Hold your horses. Don't get too worried about it. Enjoy your summer because OC will be back. So, hang on. Surely Katie already has an IMDb page. Oh, outed. What's this? Melanie saying you're all amazing.
Charlie's
you soon, Charlie.
Hi, Melanie.
Oh, that's Mum, is it? Oh, bless. I mean, you've all done your friends and family proud. It was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I guess I'm going to have to wrap it up here because we could just talk all night. But quite frankly, the effects of my COVID jab are really hitting me. So I'm going to have to wrap up. But thanks so much for coming on. Hopefully, at some point in the future, you're all welcome to come back on the stream just for kind of general shits and giggles. So feel free to join us a few times. We just like talking about TV quizzing and stuff. So you're all welcome back on in the future. We don't quite know how long we'll be doing QUIZZY Monday for in this series because with University Challenge and Mastermind just about to wrap up, we might have to kind of change our schedule, but we will be continuing once the triumvirate of quiz return later in the year. So that will definitely be happening. So I'm sure I'll be tapping you guys up to fill the roster from time to time. Thanks so much. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thanks.
And thanks, Dave. And just a reminder that we will be doing this quiz on the 9th of April for subscribers. Dave will be running it. It will be free to subscribers. We will be doing checks to make sure there are no interlopers. But we will be saying that it is free. But if you did want to make a donation to Stand Up to Cancer, then that would be great. No obligation, but might as well try and raise a little bit of cash if we can, just from doing it. But we're really grateful and appreciative of the people who subscribe, people who take part in the channel. It's kind of what makes it really, really enjoyable for us to do. Congratulations to both teams. What more is there to be said? For our channel, we're back with Quiz Week, the last live quiz week of the series on Thursday. We'll be wrapping up competitive quizzing there. And we've got lunchtime quiz time on lunchtimes on Twitter. And if this is the answer, what is the question, which we release on Sundays, and then people write the best question they can and we put it to a vote and we release the winner. And a reminder that the winners of the votes this week were not available to me. So the winners of the votes were Ian Toms for Quizzer of the Week and Central Belters for Team of the Week. So just a reminder, then congratulations to them. Nominations are open for Quizzer of the Week, Quiz Team of the Week. I suspect Quiz Team of the Week will have at least one nomination from Only Connect going forward. So if you want to support the Puzzle Hunters in next week's vote, then that vote will go live on Thursday evening. But thank you very much for everybody for watching, everybody who's been on. I'm repeating myself now. So I think on that bombshell, we'll say good night and thanks to everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.